How do you find topics to write about? Howdy. Welcome back to How to Write Better. My name is Joshua Fields Milburn. I'm a New York Times best-selling author, and this is a brand new series that we have today. It's called Ask a Best-Selling Writer. So I've got your questions. By the way, you can leave your questions in the comments below. I'll be sure to answer them on a future video. Today's question is from Shaliza. And Shaliza says, how do you find topics to write about? How do I find topics to write about? How do you not find topics to write about? Have you looked around you? Have you seen the world? Have you stepped outside? Do you have a phone in your pocket? Because if you have a phone in your pocket or a camera, all you have to do is step outside your front door, walk down the street. There are a million different things that capture your interest. And that's ultimately what it means to find something to write about. What interests you? What are you interested in? So much so that you're willing to get obsessed about it for a day, for a week, for a month, for a year. You're willing to sit down for at least an hour a day and write about it. Because you might get excited about a topic, and that's fine. You might look up in the sky and you say, wow, that's a beautiful bird. And maybe you can write a short poem about it, but can you sustain it over a period of time? Do you really have a compelling interest in birds, or was it just slightly interesting in the moment? Interest is sort of the first step toward finding something worth writing about. Something that you are interested in becomes compelling over time. And if you're compelled by something, it could be F1 racing, it could be basketball, it could be birds, it could be architecture. It could be a really compelling story about characters that have the same emotions as you, sadness and joy and grief and life and death. What is compelling to you? Now, what's compelling to me is what I tend to write about. I often say that my audience looks suspiciously a lot like me. Now, it doesn't mean that they're 6'2", 40-year-old guys from Dayton, Ohio. No, of course not. My audience looks like me because they think like me. They look like me from a mental perspective. Because I can think about what interests you, but I don't know what interests you. I know what interests me. When I'm talking to my students about what's interesting, I have to have them balance something that is really difficult to balance at first. As a writer, I want you to understand that you are simultaneously more interesting and less interesting than you might think. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, it's true that if something interests you, it probably interests someone else. But the more you become obsessed with it, the more you get neurotic about the details. Some of those things may not be interesting to other people. Interest is the kernel, it's the starting point. But from there, you have to figure out, am I actually obsessed about this? And as you walk in that direction toward obsession, what happens is the writing, you're no longer chasing the writing. The writing starts following you around as you're writing about those characters or about that topic, and you start to see it everywhere. You see it in your interactions with other people. You see it as you're driving down the street and you see someone crying in the car next to you, and it pulls that emotion out. And so, how do you find topics to write about? If you walk out of your house today, bring your phone with you, you start snapping some photos of, this is an interesting sign. Oh, look at that dog. It only has 3 legs. That's interesting to me. Find what is interesting in the world around you. I assure you, if you're paying attention, you will find something to write about. If you'd like some more writing tips, you can download my free ebook. It's called 15 Ways to Write Better. You can read it in less than an hour and you'll walk away with 15 tips that will improve your writing today.